Hello Internet, I'm Category and welcome back to my solo game table where I'm going to be playing a bit of World War 85 Blood and Fury. It's Scenario 3, we're looking at today, By Their Deeds Alone. This is a American versus Soviet scenario, with the Americans setting up on this portion of map 7 and 6. The Americans have some Pattons and a couple of Bradleys and a Vulcan that got set up in this area, along with some improved counter positions which I've placed in this city block here and in these woods here with the Bradley with the recon skill. So they're trying to protect this city from being taken by the Soviets, who are going to come in randomly from either road off just off this camera here, from this road or from this road. They're going to have loads of BMPs, loads of infantry, shed loads of T-80s, and they're going to be trying to take over these three city axes and exit enough troops off this point here, this location B, as possible. So they've got to get 6 units out off this location B to win, as well as controlling all three of these axes. Now both sides have reinforcements. There's going to be a couple of Apaches coming for the Americans. Both sides are going to have airstrikes by the end of it. And like I said, the Russians on turn 3, they just have shed loads of T-80s rolling in, and even more BMPs, more infantry. So it's going to be crazy. I'm playing as the Americans. I set up the solo assistant deck as instructed for the Soviet forces. And both sides have some artillery as well. The Americans have got a MLRS and some ADM, or the artillery delivered mines. And the Soviets have got one load of high explosives and one load of smoke. So we'll see how that plays out, see how much effect it makes. I'm not going to show you every move. Like usual, it's going to have a little breakdown turn by turn, see how we go. But this is the starting force for the Americans, heavily built on the city, expecting something to come in here, possibly from that off-map one here. Either way, this is going to be their main target before they start getting troops off. I've positioned the Vulcans over here so that any air support that comes in, they should be able to see anyone and be in range of anyone. But with their position on the hill, not being at the edge of the hill, they'll be safe from oncoming fire, unless the Soviets try and climb that hill. At that point, I've got this infantry with their ATGM, so you know there's things I can do. So anyway, on with first turn, see what happens. So in turn 1, the 200th Guards motor rifle came in up from this road. There's a couple of guys who had line of sight, so I have the Patton here with the headquarters for a bit of fire. They disrupted a unit, flipped him. Have this Bradley here taking a few lucky shots with their missiles, but they're currently reloading missiles. And we did manage to get the infantry into place here with the TOW ATGM, and they did manage to take out a BMP as well. So there's been a bit of loss on the Russian side already. Their headquarters is currently off board, ready to be redeployed. But now if I leave the headquarters where they are, which I might want to for purposes of artillery, these guys might end up being out of command, so I have to see how that plays out. But all in all, a successful first turn for the Americans. So it's the end of turn 2 now. The initial forces for the Soviets are down to 2 infantry, one of which is disrupted, and a single T-80 with the headquarters also disrupted. So they're not doing too fine. There's been some really good anti-tank fire coming from the Americans here. Yeah, except for a few guys here, they've just been parked up firing. Well, mostly this Patton, this Bradley, and these troops here, they do have their reloading missiles marked on at the moment, but because they're infantry, they're not going to lose the missiles. So we're going to turn 3 now, and this is when it's going to get really spicy, because you're going to get the Apaches coming in. You're going to get the 48th Guards Tank Regiment and the 245th Guards Motor Rifle for the Russians, so there's going to be a lot more tanks spewing in. And as I roll for the random entry for the Soviets, I really hope it's up here, just to kill some time on the way down. It's a 13-turn game, so if they start up there, there's going to be plenty of slowdown. If they're coming from B and C, they might just completely overwhelm me, so let's see how we go. On to turn 3. Turn 4 was a bit mad. So the Apaches came on, they flew across the west side, they've gone more than 12 hexes, more than 12 movement points though, so they couldn't actually take any fire. But because the Soviets had no anti-aircraft capability whatsoever, they're flying with impunity, ready to take out these last remaining infantry. The Soviets did activate, and the last little T-80 managed to reduce the Bradley over here, so he really affected his effectiveness quite severely. But those were the only 2 formation cards that were drawn before flipping over the 2 end operations cards. So going into turn 4, there's plenty of HQs on this end operations card. There's plenty of people who we know are definitely going to activate this time round. And most of them are reinforcements for the Soviets. So that alone has held the Soviets back by an additional turn. So let's keep on rolling. Turn 4 was quite literally explosive. So the Guards Tanks Regiment rolled in here, filling up the space around the city, but when it came to the American turn, we moved the headquarters here, got a good sight, dropped the MLRS there, and just ripped apart all these troops here. So they were losing tanks, losing transports, losing T-80s, loads of disrupted units. They're destroyed pretty much. Then the Guards Motor Rifle came in, also from location B, so now it's been really clustered with all the Soviets appearing from the same place. Now they've moved into these woods and unloaded all the infantry, because these Apaches flying nearby are now going to be vulnerable to the SA-7s that these guys can deploy next turn. So unless the Apaches draw their activation cards quite early and get away, get some cover, it's going to be like shooting fish in a barrel for them, I think. So moving into turn 5, it's really heating up. Loads of Soviets approaching, but the Americans are kicking them back really hard. The Bradley there has been destroyed, but that's the only American loss so far. This scenario is really heavily weighted with the Soviet side, but with the amount of force they've got to get off the other edge, it's still going to be a hard push, especially with how effective the MLRS drop was. So, into turn 5. So during turn 5, there's more of a push forwards as the Soviet troops got out up to this line. This has all been now littered with minefields from the artillery deployed mines. It didn't have any real effect on them, but it did slow them down. Now, when it came to the Guards Tank Regiment, they called in the artillery smoke here, causing a nice shield across that choke point. So as they move down the road towards the objective city, they've got a bit of free rein to get there. They've still got some strong firepower to open up when they get through that smoke, but that's a challenge for them. Now, the Apache is still flying around, taking pot shots at any infantry which get out. They do have a few more anti-aircraft support weapons, but the only one that's on the board at the moment is currently reloading missiles. So he's still flying around with impunity up in the clouds, shooting down. Yeah, so there's a lot of disrupted units coming through, but once they get past that smoke, it's not long to get home. And during turn 6, so when these cards get added, so there's going to be some close air support on both sides. So things could get very interesting, and the limited American forces are really going to get pushed to the limit now. Turn 6, the smoke is now dissipated. The Soviet forces are really pushing in on that city. The ones here have been a bit stuck, a bit out of command, but now the headquarters is no longer suppressed, they'll be back in. But the close air support was a real nothing. The Soviet close air support intercepted straight away, didn't even do anything. The American close air support did take out one of the T-80s, but then immediately expended all of its ordnance, so that one's also not coming back. So, very disappointing showing for the close air support in this mission. Now we've just got to see if the Soviets can keep pushing on, and if they can contain enough forces to actually make the victory even possible, because the Americans have just destroyed everything. So they've got to get 6 units off the board And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, if the Americans can destroy another 3 or 4 tanks, then they're absolutely fine. Because the infantry and the transports combined count as one unit for the expenditure. If a transport goes off without any infantry on board, doesn't count. If infantry goes off by itself, it doesn't count. So soon the Russians will not be able to win. But let's play it out, see what happens. On to turn 7. A little bit more of the same on turn 7. So the thing out the herd a little bit. So we've lost one of the Pattons here. This one managed to come back from reduced to full strength due to a battlefield event. That was pretty handy. And there's a few more little T-80s been reduced or flipped. So the Soviets were coming very close to being mathematically impossible to win. But there's so few forces left for the Americans. There's no more air support. There's no more Apaches. The sheer force of numbers may change everything here. So let's keep going. In turn 8, the attrition continues. We are now at the point where the Soviets only have 6 vehicles left, or 6 units left, that are capable of fulfilling victory conditions. A few disrupted, a few reduced going around, so it's very slim pickings, but if the Americans destroy one more Soviet, it's impossible for them to win. So let's keep rolling. I think it's going to happen this turn. Now there's no more air support. There's no more reinforcements coming. There's just very sparse units about to get ripped apart. And the Americans have done it. They managed to hold off the Soviets and destroy one last tank. There's now not enough manpower for the Soviets on the board to win. So on this 9th turn of this 13th turn game, I'm going to call it, because there's no point continuing. It was a strong showing. The big issues that we really had on the Soviet side is losing that air support straight away. That didn't help whatsoever. The high explosive off-board artillery strike they didn't do a thing. That's another down. The smoke would let them get into position. The smoke was really effective when it was laid there. But the real downside was having everything come in through this B unit here. When they were clustered there and getting that MLRS shot from the Americans, that destroyed so much here. Where they were all focused, there was so much damage done there. It was just unbelievable. So just taking a look at the casualty bins at the end of the game, you can see just how much more destruction was suffered by the Soviets. I mean, the forces weren't equal. Although there was much less on the American side, they had better firepower numbers, better armour. I'd say the MLRS is much better. OBA, everything was worked that they could have a good defence, but it was close. It wasn't until the last couple of turns that I knew about it. If the Soviet close air support had not gone out straight away, I think it would have gone the other way. And where the Soviets only entered on the lower half of this map, this probably could have been a one-map game. I don't think I put anything on map 6, the whole thing, except for this little objective and no marker to show where the possible entry was. Overall, really enjoyed the scenario, and I'm really having lots of fun with World War 85. I'm loving the solo system. I'm loving how similar it is to the Lock and No Tactical one, a bit more simplified, a bit more faster playing. I'm loving the random activations with the formation deck. I'm loving the handfuls of dice you throw in every time there's a good fight going on. It's just a really entertaining system with so much randomness, with a lot of randomness, but it's all randomness that adds to the drama of the game. It doesn't feel like I'm relying entirely on the dice gods to win each time. It's a really, really enjoyable system, and I can't wait to play it again. So if you haven't invested in World War 85 yet, really, really do. It's brilliant. But this is me signing off for now, and until next time, happy gaming!